Uh,
There you go. It's recording.
All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to our Sunday night sit-in in the Getting Science of Getting Rich Abraham Mastermind group. This week, we are starting our new book, if you can count the four, by James Breckenridge Jones. Yep, Carolyn has hers up there. And we are starting on chapter 1, which talks about what the count to four system is. As we do every week, we start out with what's new and good for the week. Carolyn, I guess it's up to you.
I'll start.
Okay, just jump to the head of the line. So,
Anyway, well, another court reporter has retired, so I have picked up for more clients. So that's new and good. I mean, still don't know about that one contract I was telling you about, but I think it's going because everybody's still calling me. So I think that last I heard was the state hadn't finished tallying all the results, but one person called and said, hey, we can still use you. So I think it's gonna come to fruition. First of all, there's a shortage of court reporters, a serious shortage of court reporters. So freelance and official court reporters. So the pickings are getting slimmer because we're getting older. We are. So and people are retiring. So anyway, so that's so I've got some more clients. I'm gonna be busier.
well, that gets you closer to that $1 million mark.
That's
So,
right, exactly.
well, at least putting something aside so you can coast for a little while you're working on that million.
Yep.
Multi. So, well, good. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And as I was saying before we started, the big thing this week was my friend's book came out, and I was part of that launch, and we hit #1 on the Amazon in business category worldwide. So that was cool. And yeah, that's about it. I mean, other than that, just the same old grind, working on this book. So, getting started on this book, we are in chapter 1. And let's see. I'm going to skip over all about his story.
Oh, the preface.
Yeah, but one thing that I do want to say is it's you and I here now, but if anybody listens to this in the recording, this is not about who you know or what you know or what your business background is, if you have any type of business background, educational background, and that's really what he covers at the beginning of this. If you have a desire, as with anything, that's what you need to get started. So, a lot of times with a lot of the things we've been reading, sometimes people tend to think that they need some kind of foot in of something, like they have to have a business or they have to whatever, but you don't. You can start wherever you are, and the only thing you need is a desire and your mind. So, and it's about learning how to think. So,
and a pencil because you write it down.
yes, because you have to.
Yes.
And again, as we've talked about many times right here in the beginning, is the first thing in phase 1 is, what is it, Carolyn, that we've talked about?
Write it down.
That's right.
Yep. And it's amazing how that does work. And you told me that way back when one of the first ones that you and I were together and nobody else was there, and you said, have you written it down? And it does make just a huge amount of difference. I was surprised at how much difference. So this month, I forgot, this is another good thing that happened this month. So I wrote down every bill I had to pay this month, which included my taxes, because they put taxes from April 15th to May 15th. So I had to pay a little more. I wrote everything down, and I've paid every one of my bills as of the 14th of this month. Everything from May 1 to May 31st, all the bills have been paid. Because I wrote them down, outlined them, said this is what I need to pay, and it's all paid. So
Well, excellent.
it was good. It was a great feeling.
Was that one of the things you wrote down on your A list?
It was to pay my bills on time and even be ahead of paying and have extra money at the end. And so, but this month I just said I need to list what, because I had, the taxes in here. It's like I need a little bit more. And so I wrote every bill down that I had till the end of the month, and they're all paid as of right now.
Well, good job.
Yeah, thank you.
See?
So
So,
writing it down is really a good thing.
well, and again, that's because it gets it out of your head.
Right.
And, a lot of us think we're really smart and that we can just remember and keep all these things in our head, even with simple things.
Well, and we are smart. It's just that you've got so many things going on. It's not that you're dumb or anything. It's just that you
No,
have so many different things going on that, make it your priority of what you want to do and put it on paper.
right. And we talked before about like the conscious mind. I mean, it can only have about 7 things it can think about consciously. So why fill it up with all this stuff to try and remember when you
Right.
can use those 7 compartments to be living in the moment and gaining the feeling of what it is you want? So yeah, I mean, write it down.
Right.
And I'm glad everything's working like that. So, like he
Me too.
says, let's begin by looking at phase 1,
Right.
which is to identify what you want. Write it down, define it, and describe it. And I mean, again, I don't know. We keep hammering this point home, and it is extremely, extremely important, like you said about the writing, because the brain, we talked about it before, when you're writing, it's tens of thousands of neuro pathways that are being created as you're writing these things out,
Well,
not
you're
typing it.
hitting more than one stimuli. You're hitting the tactile, you're hitting the auditory, your brain, your visual, and you're activating more than one channel of, trying to overload, as you've said, your brain capacity, your
Exactly. And typing it in WordPad or writing it on your, typing it on your tablet is not writing it down. Now you can use maybe one, like we were talking about that rocket book, that's still writing it.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Right? You have to physically have some kind of instrument in your hand, even if it's a piece of chalk and you're writing it on the sidewalk, it doesn't matter. You need to write.
And you and I are so used to a writing component. I'm not sure that a younger generation couldn't type it or speak it, because later on there he goes, even if you can't write something, speak it, just to put it in some kind of memorialization. But you and I come from a generation of writing things, and electronics is so different. It's yeah, we use them, and yeah, we've got adapted to them, but to some people it's more of a second nature to use that modality than what we use. So I mean, at some point a younger person may say, hey, typing's better for me, and it could be. I'm not saying it isn't or is, but it's just something. And this is written in 54, I think, 57. So
Right.
it's before the electronic age.
But still, the brain hasn't changed since 1954 to now.
Right.
And, that it's just recently these studies have been done that show that, typing something only uses a few hundred neural pathways, but handwriting is a whole different thing. And, but anybody can do it any way they want. But if you really want to accelerate and follow through, you should handwrite it out. Now, my friend, he's been doing that and he's noticing the same thing, like you said. It's like, it's pretty strange how things start to come about. And, because we've talked about how when you write it down, you start to get a picture about it because you have to think about what it is you're writing about. So you're constantly building that picture in both paper or electronically, and then in your mind you have that completed picture. So now he does go through and talk about that, once you write it down, you can go out and get pictures of things, like if you're talking about an automobile or a, a vacation or something, and you can use them as stimuli. And Pearl Nightingale has talked about that too. But again, whenever you look upon those things, you can't look upon them and start having the thoughts about when's it going to get here. They're just meant to, just to keep, I guess, basically to keep you happy and keep
Yeah.
your vibration high on that subject. So,
And keep it in the front of your head and not lost with all the other things that come along, that this is an A priority as opposed to a C priority. I did that when we built the house. It was on my desk, a picture of the house, not a very rough drawing of the house. The house looks different than that picture does, but there was a very rough drawing of what the house was going to look like. And we built the house, and it came a lot faster than I think it would have if we hadn't done that. So,
well, great.
yeah.
And that's the way it works.
It does. It's amazing. And when you're doing that and you're sitting there and I had the picture just to keep it there that I'm going to work because I'm working so hard to get the house, you don't realize that, hey, this actually does work, because we then got the house, and everybody said, boy, it's a good thing you built your house when you did, because prices went up, and it would have been not in our realm of being able to afford it had we waited too much longer. So
Right.
just fell into place, and I think that's a big part of it now that I know exactly what this process is.
Well, that's it. And he goes on to say, because your thoughts, they have size, color, and texture. And, that's where we start to get that picture. And especially if we can start to get that picture and see ourselves in it, like see yourself in the completed house, see
Right.
yourself in the automobile, see yourself on the stage
What
playing, or
automobile have you got, Rodney?
what's that?
What's your automobile
That I have?
that you're going to get?
Oh, that Tesla.
There you go.
You know that. That's I was actually looking
You
at
have it
them.
already, don't you?
Yes. Yes. I was actually looking at some I guess last week online, that are in the area. So I don't know.
There you go. Picture. You need a picture.
And because like I told you, I don't want to go test drive one, because if I do, I'm going to end up taking it, and I want to be home more.
Yeah.
I can enjoy that.
Sure.
So, but I will. I want to ask you about something here.
Okay.
And it's not the first time we've heard this, but when we are, let's see, I think I skipped something. But when we're thinking about it, he's saying, with the humility of a little child, get your notebook and write down everything you want to be next, or what you want to have next, not in the next 5 years, next, like, our A list that we talked about on that other call.
Right.
So what do you think about when he says that, with the humility of a little child? How do you think about that?
Well, I'm not exactly finding the exact quote you're looking at right there, but the humility, it's like the picture, it's like the kid that has one of the red tricycles that's on the
Right.
you know, kids want everything, and they just, they don't really see a problem with getting everything. They don't always get everything, but they, it's like, I want that. And I'll take my nephews to the store and for their birthday and say, okay, pick out what you want. And it's like, I want this and I want this and I want this. And, it's like,
That's
okay,
pretty open-ended, Carolyn.
well, it really works because they're they are in toys that I'm not familiar with. They like things that I'm sitting there going, I don't know what this is anymore. So it's much easier to take them shopping as opposed to me trying to find a gift that they want. And
Right.
so I take them and then I say, okay, now they have to make a choice. I can buy one of these three things that you picked. Which one do you want? And then I usually steer them toward the more expensive one of the things that they want, or the one that looks like it's got a little better value. So it really actually works out pretty good. They get what they want. We've had a great adventure. We've gone to lunch. We've just had a good time together. So, um, but they aren't doing it mean or anything else like that. They just have an enthusiasm. And I don't know what he means by humility, but I do think they have an enthusiasm toward, life. They haven't.
I'm gonna look up what Webster says that humility is.
Okay.
They say a noun, a modest or low view of one's own importance, humbleness. So, well, like you just said, kids, they have no boundaries. They believe that everything is attainable.
Well, and the other thing they don't really look at the sticker on the thing. I want this, and it's not necessarily the most expensive thing in the store. It's just, this is what I want. It's not like I'm going out for, gold. They're just out for, now as they get older. I took my niece to do this, and it was an hour and a half at the store, going through every store at the mall. I go, oh, this is painful to me because she couldn't
Right.
figure it out. But they're just, they've had the door open for them to get anything they want, so they're excited about it. But humble is a good word for them. That, they're not out there being mean spirited or anything. They just want what they can get.
Well, and and but the other thing I think too is they don't put up all the obstacles.
Right.
And I think that's one of the biggest things, because as adults, sure, we're just like bigger children, and we want things, but then all of a sudden we have all the past experience, we have all the talking heads around us that said this and this. So it's like,
All the practical, that's not really practical to get that.
right,
That,
you
you know,
know,
yeah.
it's like,
What are you
Carolyn,
gonna
why do
do
you
with
want
it?
that?
Yeah.
It's like, well, the reason is because I want that. And that's going to lead into the third phase, which
Yeah,
we
I
didn't
like
get
the
there
third
yet.
phase a lot.
Yes. So let's I'm just, because okay, so we know phase one is, again, writing it down and doing whatever you can to get a very clear picture of what that is. Now, it may be something that you're not really too familiar with, like if it's some character way you want to be,
Yeah.
you may not have touch with that, and you may not know all the aspects of that, but you can still do it to the best of your ability. You can, say you want to be funnier. You want to really learn to make people laugh, because honestly, Carolyn, there's some people that they don't laugh themselves, and they definitely cannot, put a smile on anybody else's face. And, you know, so how would you learn that? You would learn that by studying people that make people laugh.
Right.
And that way you can start getting a picture.
Getting loosened up. But it does say somewhere in here, it does say that you have to have a pretty firm picture of what it is in your mind. If you got a fuzzy picture, you're going to get a fuzzy result.
Right.
So, I mean, if you say, I want a car, but you don't know exactly what kind of car you want a Volkswagen or a Tesla.
right.
If you don't have a difference of what you want, anything can come to you. I've got the new car, but it's not necessarily the car you really want. So get it firm in your mind.
Okay, that's right. Now,
Yeah.
just as a point of the genealogy tree here, Dr. Jones was Earl Schoaf's mentor.
Okay.
Earl Schoaf was Jim Rohn's mentor.
Okay.
Jim Rohn was Anthony Robbins's mentor.
Oh, really?
Yes. So, we basically went, we're going up the ladder now. And I believe the mentor of Dr. Jones was Wallace Wattles, um, Florence Scovel Shinn, because they were all the books that he had been reading.
Okay.
Um, who's the who's P.T. Barnum,
Okay.
is another one.
Yeah.
And of course, Napoleon Hill. So yeah, but he was actually Earl Schoaf's mentor. So
Okay. Okay.
then we move into phase two, which is, he says, is just pretend. Pretend that you already have what you want to, that you already are what you want to be, and that you already have what you want to have. Ask yourself, how would I feel if I were already the person I want to be? Or if I already had the things I've written down, how would I feel? What would I do? Where would I be right now? And then he says, in other words, assume the fulfilled dream. Assume the feeling of the dream fulfilled, which is what Abraham talks about.
Right.
And I just listened to something the other day. I'm gonna post it in the group of Abraham, and it was the guy he was a biologist, and he had created some kind of vaccine or something, but he was frustrated because he knows it works, but it's not being able to get out there. And that's what Abraham said. Abraham said, you have to just focus on the feeling of what it is that you want to happen, not worry about what the governments are doing or what this is doing, because that you have to be satisfied with the feeling. And once you're satisfied with the feeling, then it just it has to become a reality. There's
Right.
just no way it cannot become, in the physical
Right.
reality. So, but a lot of people, what's funny, Carolyn? Most people put on, see how I lean in there?
I know.
Most,
I'm listening.
she's like, whoa. Most people, they put on a face in different situations in their life.
Hmm.
Like when they're at work, they act like a certain person. When they're at home, they're a totally different person. When they're out in the public, they may be a different person. So in reality, they're pretending all the time, but
That's true.
they're pretending in a way that's not beneficial to themselves.
Well, it could be how you're comfortable with people. You're more
Right.
comfortable with your friends than you are, and so you're going to be a little more relaxed and let them see your. We all keep a little door closed to people we don't know, and as you get to know people, you open up to them and stuff like that. So, you know, people at work, you may not want to have that relationship or whatever. So,
And you may hate being there anyway.
and you may hate being there, and yeah, and so you just, and you don't, so you just, but we act differently with different groups of people. I mean, that's very true.
And it seems like the older people get, the further away from being able to dream, it just disappears. I
Well,
don't know
I know
what it is.
Abraham says the young kids are really an adult who tries to, I'm going to tell you what I've learned and you're going to learn from my mistakes. And
Right.
whereas the old kids are open, younger kids are open and they're able to explore and enjoy life better because they don't have those preconceived ideas. and haven't shut down as much as older people have. So I agree with you there too.
But a lot of them, though, even the younger kids, they still fall into the same path.
That's true. Well, you know, if we could
It's,
teach this in school, because
well,
they, I mean, I'm falling into this very late in my life, and I mean, I've studied along the way and read some of these things, and I've known Abraham now for probably 20, maybe 15, 20 years, where I've listened to Abraham, and so I took a turn, and um, but this group has opened my eyes even more, which I truly do appreciate, and so it's just we don't teach this at school. We teach the basics. You have to know the hardcore math and reading and history and science and stuff like that. And that's all good stuff to know, but it's just these things would be great to know.
right. And we talked about this when we did Science of Getting Rich, because, and we've talked about these other subjects too, like who's giving the information. Like if you're telling somebody a health thing, like something helped you personally with some issue you might have had, and you tell somebody else, usually they're not going to believe you, even if you have credibility with them,
Yeah.
because Carolyn, you're not a doctor. And, I know even when they see the results for your, with their own eyes with you, there's just something in a lot of, it's not everybody, but with most people, there's this thing. It's like, but she's just my friend. And it's
He was
like,
just lucky, just always,
right.
lucky.
But, that's one thing. And this is going to lead back into number 3 of phase 3, where, you can't look at the person that's sharing the information with you. You have to look based on the merits of what they're saying. If
Yeah.
you're saying, well, I took these ingredients and I put them in my blender and I whipped them up and look at me now, and okay, well, let them take the things and put them in the blender and whip them up and see what happens for them. Not just dismiss it because Carolyn's not a doctor or a health professional or anything.
But it may not work the same, because Abraham says, because their minds
Right,
differently, it just may not work the same way. They will react because they have a preconceived idea of how they're going to how what's going to happen to them. So it may not be as miraculous for them as it is for me. So
right. It's just like with the drugs and everything like that. If Abraham says, if that is the path of least resistance and somebody believes that this is going to be the best thing for them, they'll be healed by that.
yeah,
Somebody else that is totally against that road, and if they're forced down that road, they're not gonna, like you said, they're not gonna have the same result.
exactly.
But like they said, it's done unto you as you
Believe,
believe.
believe. And I mean, and,
So,
and they hit faith and belief in this book too. You have to have faith in the process. You have to have belief that it's going to work, or you're just not going to get the results.
right. And which again is very, very hard for most people. And Abraham has talked about this ever since Abraham started, because people are so bound up on the this is reality.
Hmm.
This is the way it is.
Yeah.
We can't change that. And that is totally not true. That is the first thing people need to understand. You can change anything.
Right.
I stopped drinking coffee now. It's been 4 days. Now, I was on a certain direction as a coffee drinker. And there's nothing wrong with drinking coffee, nothing at all. I'm not saying that. But I think, it's just been messing with my skin and things like that. So, but when I was drinking the coffee, I was on a certain path. I mean, I don't know what the destination was ultimately, but I was on a certain path. Now that I've stopped, not that I've quit, because I will drink coffee again. I know that because I enjoy it, but now that's changed that path. that one little decision
Sure.
has altered the destination.
There's a book about brain fog, and the first thing it says is stop your coffee and anything, stimulant type things. And so I stopped reading the book at that point because I like my coffee.
Right.
But put that book down. I don't want that one. But if you stay off of it, and you may find a huge different path that you're going down that they really do say is healthier for you. I mean, I cut mine back to 2 cups a day. I just said, okay, I'm going to do 2 cups a day. Every once in a while, I'll pick up a third one, but not often.
Right.
But I was up to 14 cups a day, so I put a skid on that.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that's the way I was all day. I'm
Yeah.
driving.
Well, if you're driving, I can see that. Yeah.
I stop at a truck stop, and it wasn't because I wanted coffee. It was more just habitual.
Yeah.
And I'm in here, I fueled up, I go in and get coffee, or and it wasn't about getting the coffee, it was about habit.
Yeah. And I cut out soda about 5 years ago, just because it's not good for the sugar and all that kind of stuff. I said, okay, this I can drop off. So
Well, thank goodness.
I now like my
never had
water.
that. Well, there you go. I'm drinking water with a lemon in there. You see that?
I don't. Oh, there it is. I see it. Sure do. Mine's just straight water. No ice, just water.
I didn't want to tilt it, and it ended up spilling on my computer. And
Oh no.
But
Yeah.
no, but that's one thing I've never been into with soda. If I take like a sip of Coca-Cola or Pepsi, my face lights up like a Christmas tree. Which is funny because my mom, growing up, my mom smoked True Blue cigarettes and drank Pepsi.
Oh wow.
All the time. She was even smoking in the delivery room, I found out, when I was being born. I mean, because you could still smoke in the hospital then.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, just those one little thing, you will change your direction.
Yeah.
And it doesn't need to be a big thing.
Nope.
But
you have to line up with it. You have to line up with it and say, okay, I'm ready for this.
Right. And yeah, that's one thing Priya always talks about, that you have to be in alignment before you do it. Yeah. Don't do it because you feel like you have to, or
somebody tells you have to do it. It's better for you,
Right. Because I was going to post something. I came up with a quote, basically, that most people say yes out of obligation and no out of reaction. Meaning, like your family member says, Carolyn, I need you, can you help me with this? No, most people, oh yeah, okay. You don't really want to do it, but it's like, oh, it's family, so I'm kind of obligated to do it.
Right.
Or somebody's spouse, or whatever says that. But then in other circumstances, somebody comes along and says, hey, Carolyn, look at this, and this. Now, because all of a sudden you're thinking of past experience, what your friends said about this, and it's so amazing how quickly those things, and I'm not talking about you personally, because
I didn't take it personally.
So that's one of the 4 agreements. Don't take things personal.
Didn't take it personal.
Because it's not your problem, it's their problem. But yeah, and I mean, it's amazing how all this stuff comes right to the forefront.
Yeah.
And it just boggles my mind. So we're assuming the feeling. And then he goes on to talk about that phase 1 is like planting the seed. We're talking about farmers again.
Yeah.
And your subconscious mind is this super fertile ground that returns anything and everything that you want. So he's saying phase 1 is like planting the seed. That's what we picked out, the description. Phase 2 is the watering, the cultivating, and the warming. So when you pretend, you go through mental activities that are like plowing the corn or cultivating it. So
Feeding it. You're feeding it.
yes, you're feeding it. Because remember what they say, the subconscious doesn't know if it's real or imagined.
Yeah, you're
And if you,
giving it nutrition, you're giving it fertilizer and just everything to make it grow. You know.
right, and you're building, well, he talks about this later, but you're starting to build new tracks in
Oh,
your
so you
mind.
read ahead.
Is yeah, like the grooves on the old records.
Uh-huh.
It starts to make a groove. That's what a habit does.
Yeah,
A good habit or a bad habit.
true.
And anything can turn into a habit. If you just stop at the corner every time you walk a certain direction, not going in anywhere, you just stop at the corner. After you do that 4 or 5 times, you're going to continue to do that and you won't even know why you're doing it.
True.
Why, Carolyn, why do you always stop at that corner when you're walking up the block?
I don't know. Do I? Do I?
No, you'll be
Yeah.
like, I have no idea. Do I actually stop at the
Yeah,
corner?
yeah,
Yeah, you do every time you walk up there.
yeah.
And, it's just, but it's because it built a track in there. And it was something that wasn't threatening. So, your mind had no reason to protect you from that action or that behavior, when an action of behavior. And so you just continue to do it.
Yeah.
Because now it's become comfortable to stop at the corner. And who knows? But now he was going into, well, what's a good way to pretend? And then he says, well, think about once you obtain the thing that you desired, what is the next thing that would happen? But
Right.
it could only happen if you had that. Like with the Tesla, it would be sticking the charger in to charge the batteries.
Uh-huh.
That could only happen with that car.
Right.
I mean, I can't go down to the Wawa and stick the electric thing in my car. I mean, probably it would blow my car up, and that would not be good.
That would not be good.
Right. So that's one thing. Now, and I've been thinking about this too, but I've been thinking about this. I can pick people up in my car now. Like say I pick my dad up to go to breakfast. I can tell him, Dad, when I pick you up, just say how nice the inside of this Tesla looks. And talk about it, and we pretend we're driving the Tesla.
Well, that's a good idea.
Because I was trying to think, well, how can I, because he talks about in here how he was going to go on television.
Mm-hmm.
And what he did was he had a big party at his house, and
Right.
everybody had scripts
Mm-hmm.
of what they were going to say, as if they were saying it after he actually went on television.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about that. Well, I could pick people up and I could say, look, this is the game we're going to play. This is
Here's
the
your
Tesla.
script.
Yes.
Here's your script.
Yes. It's like, can you imagine doing that as an Uber driver? They jump in, and they don't, it's like fighting with the mask and a plastic thing there between the seats. It's like, here's your script. Put your phone down and just say this. This is our
Really. And
conversation.
pay attention to where you're driving while you're at it.
Oh, I'm sure they would love that.
I'm sure.
But yeah, so that's a very good idea, though. What would happen? I mean,
That's a good way, and maybe put in an extra ampage of power source that you need for your Tesla at your house.
right.
You need to put in a thing on the front yard to charge it. I mean, I don't know that. I mean,
Well, you can put them at home. So
Yeah.
you're talking like Florence Shin said, where the lady, she started to buy the curtains and everything for her new apartment when she didn't have it yet.
Yeah.
And her friend said, why are you doing that? You should be doing this,
Yeah.
not buying things for something you don't have.
Right. But you're preparing for when it comes, and you're going to need that. So you're going to need a place to plug it in. So
So preparing is pretending, isn't it?
It is. It's a form of pretending. Exactly.
Pre-paving the way.
Mhm.
Yeah, segment intending. There
Yep.
we go. That it
Yep.
all fits in.
It does.
So,
All beginning to make sense.
but now moving on to the third phase, which is what's been on your mind. And phase three is the ability within you to say yes and no. What's your thought on that?
I love that thought because we say yes, as you said earlier, so often to people that I need you to help me do this. I need you to help me do that. I need you to help me. And you're sitting there going, I don't want to do this. But you do it because you feel obligated to do it. I mean, I remember when I was teaching, I had somebody ask me in like September, will you go with the eighth graders to Six Flags? I said, sure, it's in April. Come April, it was like, I was so sorry I said yes. It's just like, what the hell was wrong with me? You know, you just say yes because you're afraid to say no. You know,
And they're expecting you to
and you're
say yes.
expecting you to say yes, and you want to be compliant, you want to be friendly, you want to be nice, you want to get along with people, and so you always say, sure, I can do that, sure, I can do that. So a no, I love this. No is great. I mean, learning to say no when you don't want to do something is you're given that right to say no, you're given that power to say no. It should be exercised.
Exactly. And it doesn't matter who it is or how close they are to you,
Right.
because sometimes the answer is no,
No.
or at least not no for now,
Right,
you know?
exactly.
So,
My
I
my
mean, I
mom
would,
my mom wanted me to live at home until I got married. Well, that never happened. I didn't never get married, but I kept moving. I finally moved out. And it was just like she didn't talk to me for 3 weeks. It was just like
well,
I've got to do what I've got to do, and moving out is what I have to do. You know, it's just like it's gonna, um, it just I can't. She can't live my life.
exactly.
You know.
But see, and that was actually something I got into with my ex-wife yesterday, because she called me about my one daughter, and I the situation, and I said this to my ex-wife. I said, "See, here's the problem. You are expecting her, my daughter, to do and act a certain way that you expect.
Hmm.
And if they don't do that, then you see that as a problem." But, and I told her, I said, it's not just you. I said, a lot of people do this. And that's what they do. They have certain expectations that you're going to do and perform, which is what it is. You're going to perform and act in a certain way. And then when you don't, it's like, whoa, wait a minute, we got a big problem now, and even with something as simple as saying no.
Right.
So
Right.
your brother comes to you and says, Carolyn, I really need, we're doing this thing. I need you to do this. And, you look him right in the face and say, no, I'm not able to do that. And, but and this is just an example, but, they're expecting that, of course, you're going to be compliant and say yes.
Right. Right.
Carolyn always says yes.
Yes.
And then it's like, whoa, said no. And it's like,
And I'm learning to accept somebody else's no too,
well, that's a good point.
because I expect people to do certain things. And when I think I have it all figured out for them, how
Right.
they're supposed to react, and they don't because they have that no in them, I have to say, I'm okay. I have to live my life. They get to live their life. So I have to accept that they can say no to me.
That's a great point. And, that's something to remember, because we tend to do that too. We tend to think in these ways, okay, well, it's so great that we have the right to say yes or no, but then we are not allowing that of others.
Right.
So
Exactly.
we must allow that of others, whether that's, you
Right.
know, family or kids, whatever.
And you learn to live with and the disappointment, because there will be some maybe disappointment that they said no to you, and accept that they have the right to make that decision and respect their right to make that decision.
Right. And again, it doesn't necessarily mean no forever. It just means, maybe the timing's not right for
Right.
whatever you were
Well,
asking.
you don't know what they're going through at that point.
Right.
If they don't share what they're going through, you don't know what they're going through. So no can mean, they're going through something that's way off your radar because they haven't shared with you what's on there, what the problem is. So
Right. You asked them to help you out doing something at this time,
yeah.
but they didn't tell you that they were going on vacation.
Well,
And
or
it's
going to
like,
the doctor, going to the hospital, having
right.
surgery. I mean, it could be anything,
Yep.
So
But you're absolutely right. But yes, we do have to allow others. If we expect that, then we have to allow others
right,
the same latitude.
right.
So that's a good point. But yeah, but now phase 3 is like weeding the garden, keeping the weeds out.
Right.
So here we're focused. We know what we want. We're pretending that's what it is, that we're having that. Well, like it says in It Works, rule number 3, don't tell anybody.
Exactly.
Now, see, that's my hard part. That's my
You're a
part.
sharer. You are a sharer.
I'm an oversharer. And I usually share with my father. And, well, we all know the story. So, and my father's wonderful, but, he's like your mom, set in their ways.
Mhm.
And it's like, Priya's mom the same way. It's like,
Well, and it's, I know better. I don't want you to have a problem. I want you to learn from my mistakes. I don't want you to have the same downfall that I've had. And so they're trying to protect you still. And they don't know. They don't know what you're going through.
right,
They've taken a different path.
right. And now I'm gonna take an offshoot here, and we're gonna talk about this, about the opinions, attitudes, and beliefs. And everybody's entitled to their opinion.
True.
About anything, but that's what it is. It's an opinion. Now, I'll give you a prime example. Like, I have bought several houses literally with no money down.
Okay.
The very first investment house I ever bought, it was $100 cash advance from a Citibank Visa card. That's what was used to open escrow in New Jersey. It took almost 8 weeks to close the deal. It was the worst. Everything was done through FedEx and everything. 8 weeks later, I walked out with a check for $11,100 and some odd dollar. Now, if it doesn't matter who it is, I have a belief in that word again, a knowing that is possible to do because I've done it several times.
Uh-huh.
So if somebody came up to me and said, you can't be buying houses with nothing down. You can't do this. It doesn't matter what they say because it's only in their opinion. Right. Because I know for a fact that is not true. Because
to you, it's not true. To them, it may be
right.
true because they have that belief.
Right, but now if they took the steps to learn what to do, they
right.
could do the same thing.
Right.
But
right.
for them to be so adamant and fixated on that it's totally impossible, there's no way, that is your opinion. That is not a fact. And when your opinion comes up to somebody else's belief of what they know to be true, that has freed me so much, Carolyn, because now when I hear certain people say things, I just say in my head, opinion. Because if I know differently,
yeah,
and I'm not going to argue with them about it.
Because why waste your time? Why waste your energy? And it's their opinion about their situation. And so you're right. You have the right. They have the right to opinion. You have your right to your opinion.
Right. Too many times, and you'll start to see it. Too many times, people pit their opinion against somebody's belief.
Yeah.
And somebody's knowing. And you can't do that. Because if somebody knows something to be true because of their, like you said, your own experience, but if you had the experience, anybody could experience it.
Right.
And, but it to be true. There's no way that their opinion can override that. Because there's no way that you can untrue it.
Right.
It's like they say, you can't unring that bell. Once the bell's rung, you can't go unring it. So once
Well, what Waddle says, if one person can do it, everybody can do it if they learn the way to do it. And you have learned the way to do that. You know how to do it. And so, but
right.
They just are not choosing to learn how to do that. So.
They're choosing just to fight against it.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that was just an example, but there are people that believe that. And it's just totally not reality.
Right.
But for them, it is their reality. But if you're not going to be willing, like you said, to take a step, if it was important to you to learn, because then you would just like what we're doing now. What we've done with these, now this is the third book.
Right.
And we've had people in this group on these calls create $10,000 outside of their job or outside of what they do for their living.
Right.
Now, I can't say that it's all because of what we've been doing in this group, but I can't say that was
coincidental that it has happened.
But yeah.
In this particular time period. And that's what faith is. Faith is that, hey, yeah, we started the ball rolling, the wheel rolling, and it's just, it has been very fortunate for some of us. Yes. So.
Some of us. So.
We're still waiting on the others, but that's okay. We can wait.
I only have a couple thousand more to go.
The deadline was July.
Yeah, is July, not was.
Yeah, it's July. The deadline's July. You're not like the lady with the 5.5 week dress, that she had 6 months to do it and got it in 5.5 weeks. You're the 6-month person. No problem.
Yeah. It's like at the end when he talks about, I'm a Cadillac girl. I'm not a secondhand car girl. I'm a big apartment girl, not a living in a rundown.
5.5 weeks. She came to that conclusion.
Yep. Yeah. So.
And Pri and I had the, and so did Vicky. Very, very quickly. Vicky had it faster than any of us. That the $10,000 before, it was just like, wow. Vicky had it in a week.
Right.
Wow. So, it comes when it comes. It comes when it's ready to come. It'll be there. It'll be there.
Right. Exactly. But it's not going to be there if you don't believe it's going to be there.
That's right.
I mean, you might stumble into it, but we don't.
I stumbled into it.
Yeah.
I stumbled into it.
No, not really, because you had already set the path. You didn't know how it was going to happen.
Right. Yeah.
But you already had an intention set.
I'll tell you, long time ago, I was going to meet my mom for dinner and another person. And my mom said, and I said, Mom, I have no money. It was when I was first starting teaching and I had no money. And I'd moved out of the house. This was shortly after I'd moved out of the house and was changing careers and doing a lot of other things. So I said, Mom, she goes, I'll meet you. I'll pay for your dinner. I said, okay, I'll show up. So I go and I go to the post office first and there's $20 bills on the ground, a $20 bill on the ground. So I scooped up that $20 bills thinking how fortunate I am. I go to where we're supposed to meet. My mom doesn't show up.
Oh,
I have to.
Well, that's nice.
I have $20 for dinner.
Well, but still, Mom didn't show up.
Mom didn't show up, but the universe knew I needed $20 for dinner.
Well, and it happens.
It does.
It happens. Did I tell you guys the other week when I was in Ednard's grocery store, I had just turned the corner with my cart and this lady comes walking up and she has all these 20s in her hand. And she says, did you drop this? And I said, no, I didn't. And there was nobody else around in the store. I mean, literally. And she says, well, I'm going to have to find out whose this is. I said, it's yours. I said, there's nobody else around. I said, that's a gift from the universe. Enjoy it. You know, it was probably at least $100.
Wow.
And, you know, so now if you dropped it and you got up to the register and realized you dropped it, you would be probably walking around the store saying, I dropped money. But
Yeah.
there was nobody else in there.
Wow.
And, you know, but it was just one of those things. So hopefully she held on to that. You
Yeah.
know, she wasn't taking it from somebody,
Right.
you know. Now here's a question for you. I had this question with my sister and her boyfriend the other week. You're walking along the street, you find a wallet. It's filled with $100 bills. There's no identification in it whatsoever. Nothing. Not a shred of anything that you could use to find somebody. What do you do?
I gotta keep it.
Right? I mean, where would you turn it into?
If it had somebody's name in it and a phone number, I'd call them. And
Yes.
I have your wallet. But if
Yes.
there's no identification in it, then I'm not
A
turning
gift
it
from the
in, because
universe.
if I turn it into the police, they're gonna keep it.
Right?
So I gotta keep it.
That's right. I mean, I would say that's a gift. And the only thing you say is thank you.
Thank you.
But
Thank
you're
you.
right. I mean, if they're licensed or something, absolutely. Hey, found your wallet. Da, 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 da.
We were
You know,
on vacation one time. We found somebody's wallet, and they lived in another state, and it took us forever to find an up place to mail it to them so that they could get it, because you know, they asked if we would send it that way, and we did. But it was just, you know, you just have to return it if it's somebody's, and if somebody's lost it, it's theirs. But you know, if it's nobody's, it's mine. So
yeah,
did your
I
sister
agree.
agree? Did your sister agree?
Yes, they agree.
Okay.
And I mean, it's nothing against your belief systems. It's
Yeah.
nothing
It was like that.
evil.
No, it was like that $20 was mine. There was nobody around. I reached down and said, "Oh, $20. Ooh, I'm lucky." I ate that $20 that day, but that was good.
I mean, all these people say God works in mysterious ways. Well,
Yeah,
just check that up as that's a mysterious way.
that's exactly right.
It's like you pick it up. It's like
You knew my mother wasn't going to show up that day.
that was, but I'm going to make sure you can eat. So now we're on to phase 4. And the phase 4 is the how.
The how.
How do you get from here and now to there with what you want to have? So, and then he goes into the story about the blue being the subconscious, you know, like if you've ever had an idea just popping your head
Yep.
out of nowhere. It's just, and we've talked about this before. It may be something you don't even know anything about. And it just, well, where'd that come from? And, you know, and most people will just, they'll just toss it aside.
Yeah.
But no, it popped in your head for some reason.
Right.
And, you know, you need to start following that thread. You don't know where it's going to lead, but especially if it's something you don't know about, if it's something you don't know about, how in the hell did you think about it?
Exactly.
Something put it there.
Or even if something comes in and you know a little bit about it, but it pops right up there at that point, follow it, you know.
Right. And so strong.
Right. Right.
And exactly. And that's, you know, like he's talking about with the farmer. You know, how does a farmer plant a bushel of wheat and then end up getting 40 bushels or more?
Right.
You know, I mean, well, just think of the miracle of a seed. You put one little seed in the ground and it produces a plant with hundreds of seeds, just like itself.
Right.
Where was all that stuff in there?
Right. I made popcorn last night. Third a cup of popcorn. Lots of popcorn.
How did it fill up the whole bag?
The whole bowl was full of popcorn.
I only
Edible.
started with a handful of magic beans, and it's overflowing. But yes, because something happened while it's under the soil, that 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 formless substance is flowing through everything, and it creates it. It's the same thing in our mind.
Right.
We don't know how, but we start to get these hints. We start to get these urges. We get these ideas.
Right.
Like we said, go down to the convenience store, you get some ice cream. I don't want ice cream. I'm not going. Just go. There's a reason, to go. And, that's again, I think you got to start to look at it like a game. It's like, okay, I've defined it.
The game of life.
Yes, that's exactly right. Exactly. I wonder if there's a book out about that. And so, see, now we do a lot of smiling and laughing, Carolyn, because
Sure. I'm having a good time. You having a good time?
Yes. Well, at Mother's Day dinner, my mom, she said, well, they said you were going to be one of two things, comedian or politician. She said, I'm glad you turned to comedian. But it's like, I am too, Mom. But yeah, but there's something that happens that we don't know.
Right.
But that is the part we have to get ourselves out of. Stop trying to force that it's got to be this way.
Well, and there's so much in life that we don't know. Like he used the example of the little kid that turns on the electric switch and the light comes on. I don't know why the light comes on when I hit the switch. I trust that the light's going to come on unless
Does it matter?
It doesn't matter to me what goes on behind there. So, I trust my electrician knows what they're doing. I trust, we trust a lot of people to know what they're doing, and it just it falls into place. And we as a people have to fall into our places. What is our role to do whatever it is we need to do? So,
well, think about what you just said, Carolyn, about the electrical thing. Number one, you have a knowing of electricity. That knowing is that if I flip this switch, boop, there shall be light.
Right.
That's your knowing. And you have no doubt that that's going to happen 100% of the time that you do that.
And if it doesn't, something's wrong.
Right. But then you know what to look for.
Right.
Because you're still familiar with it. But the point what I'm trying to say is, about that electricity, that it's going to do that. Then why is it that when you're talking about money, that people, it's like an extra $10,000. People are like, whoa, where's it going to come from? How am I going to get that? No. You know that. Okay, here's the question. Here's the question.
Okay.
For them. Do you believe that there's more money out there than you may possibly have? Do you believe that?
Me? Yes.
Yes. Do you believe that?
Yes.
Okay. Do you believe that there is money out there that is available for all different types of people?
Yes.
Do you believe that people get money that don't deserve it?
Oh, yeah.
Do you believe that people get money that deserve it?
Yes.
Do you believe that people find money?
Yes.
Okay, so the question then becomes, if you know all these things about money, translate that to the same thing as known about the electricity.
Mm-hmm.
Just trust that if you want the light to come on or you want the money to come in, just trust that there will be an avenue for that to happen.
Right.
You don't need to know how.
Exactly.
But we throw up all these roadblocks.
I think what people, a lot of times, the throwback is there's a certain amount of money. It's only this much money. And if you have your 20% and you have your 20, there's only 100%. There's only, a certain amount left. And so, but we don't have that certain number that there's only so much left. It's not like a piece of pie. Once the pie is gone, there's no pie left. There's an infinite supply here. And I think that's the hard part to wrap your mind around, that there's always more money coming.
And when it comes to money, Carolyn, most people are thinking that it's them that has to do something to
Right.
get it.
Right.
You know,
In a competitive society.
right. I don't have to do anything for the light to work. The only action I take is to flip the switch.
Pay your electric bill.
Right. Yeah, I paid it. It was $18.20.
There you go.
Your $20 would have covered it.
That's right.
So, yeah, but we know that we don't have to do much for the electricity. But when it comes to the money, we think we have to do a lot.
Right.
And I think that's something that, number one, we don't know how it's going to happen. And number two, we believe that it's all on us.
Right. We don't, and we don't know what it is we have to do, but it's all on us. I agree with that. It's like, we got to figure out how to get the money here, how to do that. And, what job, whatever. So, yeah.
Right. Well, that's the other thing. That's like my mom said when my sister was talking about, wanting to create more money. The first thing was, getting another job. Well, that is one way. That's one way. I mean, it's not. It doesn't mean it's the only way.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's the other thing people are thinking, because they've worn that track. This is what I've been doing for 20 years.
Right.
This is my track. I've never made an extra $10,000 in a month.
Right.
Let alone in a week. So that's way out of this track.
Right.
And, the first thing is to somebody, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable that can happen, because they're in that track, because they don't, it's what he talks about later. It's your consciousness. It's your consciousness being everything that you know up until now.
Yeah.
That is not something that they know. Well, Earl Schoaf talked about it, about, wanting a Cadillac. When the guy said, you want a Cadillac? He's like, no, I don't want a Cadillac. He wasn't ready for that. But he can raise his consciousness up to a point where Schoaf said that he can buy Cadillacs like he buys a pair of shoes.
Yeah.
Because your consciousness of what you start to believe gets raised. So this person that has this track, they don't believe that $10,000. Right. But all of a sudden something happens and they create an extra $1,000 outside of their job. Now they're like, now they start to believe.
Right.
And then somebody says about creating $10,000. Now they're a little closer to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they know they can create a tenth of it.
Yeah.
Again, they may not know how, but they do know in their heart
that it's possible.
Possible.
Right. Right.
And it's possible for them.
Right.
Doesn't matter about the neighbor or their brother or their parents. They know it's possible for them.
As long as they keep the naysayers out that says, oh, that can't be done, and that's and we've talked about that, you just have to tune those people out and don't tell them what you're doing. You just move on.
Right. Because there's two things personally that I am going to be accomplishing. And believe me, Carolyn, it is hard for me not to speak out. I almost said something at breakfast today, but I knew what the reaction was going to be, and I didn't feel like pulling weeds.
And you don't want, why do that to yourself?
Don't tell me, show me.
Yeah.
And then, because after it's done, then I'll tell you what I was going to do. So, now with both things, you talk to my one friend about, because him and I are on the same wavelength, and he's not going to, he's not going to lay in there like, oh, that's a stupid idea. That's just dumb. Why would you do that? Just, that kind of stuff.
Right.
He would never be like,
It's like you have your private mastermind group with him.
right. Well, and
Yeah.
it's like, you and Priya, you're part of my inner circle.
Right.
I mean, if I said something to you guys, you're not going to be like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
No.
I mean, your face may change and you may be, it's like, are you thinking that's the dumbest thing you've ever heard? No.
No, not me.
It's like when people's heads are like, no, but it's like,
Well, sometimes I'm not a huge dreamer, and so when somebody tells me a dream, it takes me a time to wrap my head around. So it's like, wow, I never thought of that. So it does take a little bit of time because I've been on a steady path, and so this is outside my realm. I'm not a huge, oh wow, think way expansive, because I just have never done it. I'm retraining my brain to do that.
well, that's the whole point.
That's the whole point. Exactly.
That's, I mean, we're always learning.
Right. Well, we hope we are.
Right. But then he's talking about the blue, and he's saying that you would listen for an idea from your subconscious that helps you actually earn he was talking about $1,000 per month.
Mhm.
He was talking about the guy that was not making that money. So once you start to believe that, then you will start to get ideas about that. And then you just have to follow them.
Right.
And, I don't want to go into all these examples, but
See,
that's
he had some good examples, but they weren't as many as Florence had.
right,
Yeah, but there were good examples.
right. And, but the point is, so it's four things. Phase one, decide what you want.
So, but
To
write it down. Write it down.
define it.
Define
Yes,
it.
as best you can.
Yeah.
Phase two, act as if,
Right.
pretend.
Right.
Think about what would have to happen after you attained or you became the type of person that you wanted to be. And then play that out.
Right.
Enlist others to play along with you, like a play,
Yeah.
like a skit. Phase three, learn to
Keep the
say
weeds
yes or
out. Keep
no.
the weeds out. Yeah.
Yep. If it's not, and also keep your mouth shut about what you're wanting to do. You don't need to tell anybody.
You don't.
It's your business of what you want to do. What is it?
I was going to say, Esther's husband, Jerry, used to say that too. Just people don't need to know everything until it comes to where it's to fruition. And I'm pretty good about keeping my mouth shut about what I'm doing. So, you're a much classier, you're a much more classic sharer, which is really good. And it has it's good points.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, see, but I used to put a lot of weight into well, not really. I never really gave a crap about what other people thought, honestly.
Well, see, I always gave a crap about what other people thought, and so I just kept my mouth because I always differed with them. So I just let them think what they and went on and did my own thing. So, but now I don't care. So that's
Well,
fine.
just a side note, do you know what Jerry did?
No, well, he was in the entertainment field at some point. But I don't really know what he did.
He was an Amway distributor.
Oh, really?
Yes. When he said he had business all over the world, he was a successful Amway distributor.
Well, I didn't know that. No, I didn't know that.
Yes. That's
He talks about being in the circus at one point, and he talks about different things, and so I never did know.
Yeah, he did a lot of different things, but his main thing, like when he met Esther, that's what he did for his income.
I'll be darned. I had no idea.
Yep. I forget where I read that somewhere, or she might have said it somewhere, but yeah. And I was kind of shocked by that too. It's like, but hey, I mean, he was doing well.
Yeah, and if it fits his personality, he seemed to be, in the people kind of industry, so that,
Yep.
nothing wrong with that.
So, yeah, I mean, I was today, my friend Lucy, I met her on an Abraham cruise. She works on for Celebrity cruise line. She's in this group, but she was on her way to Dallas from Indonesia. I said, well, you coming to visit? She's like, yeah, why not? But she was going back to work. But I mean, I just treasure the times that I actually got to sit down with Esther, like down in the coffee area. And, I mean, it was fun.
I would like to do that someday. I've gone to one seminar, but I haven't done any, where and I've listened. I used to get the tapes and get her tapes every week,
Right.
every 2 weeks. And you don't listen to the Saturday night things, do you? Saturday day things that she does. She does a 2 hour thing.
No, I didn't even know about it.
Oh yeah, she has 2 hour Saturday seminars. Right now since COVID hit, she has people write in their questions, and so she's broadcast 2 hours on Saturdays. Um, so
Okay, I'm gonna have to check that out.
yeah, I think it's $45, which is not bad. I mean, and you can play it back anytime you want. I've seen them on YouTube, some of them. So I haven't seen all of them, but every once in a while somebody posts one on YouTube. But yeah, she does that every week, I think now, instead of traveling, which is good for her. How old is she, do you know?
I'd be in her 70s.
Yeah, I would say she's up there. So,
Well, she was a lot younger than Gary.
that traveling gets tired. I'm sure she's tiresome after a while,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Flying everywhere and hotels
Yeah.
everywhere
So
but
hard on your
yeah,
body and the time zone differences and stuff like that. And every 2 weeks now she does 2 hours and sits at a chair and calls Abraham in and reads the questions, and they go that format. So I
nothing
haven't
wrong
listened.
with that.
Nope, nothing wrong with that. And it's $45, so it's a lot cheaper for the person. I mean, it sounds like a win-win for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you're gonna get way more value than the $45 worth.
Right.
And, so, but yeah, and then phase 4 is the how. The
Uh-huh.
listening to the hunches and inspirations that you get and following them. If they feel,
Right.
well, not even if they feel right. I mean, especially if they're absurd, you should definitely pay attention. If it's something way out of, like you said, way out of your comfort zone, it's like, whoa, wait a minute. I might need to look into this because this just doesn't, I would never have thought of something of that on my own.
Yeah.
So
Sometimes though, it's just to go get ice cream.
that's right. And on that note, I think we're gonna end the recording. We're gonna end on ice cream.
On ice cream.
Yes. But again, I appreciate you being here, and hopefully, people get to watch this and, come on board next time. Everybody's welcome. And
We just never know where we're gonna go, what tangent
That's,
we're gonna go off on.
that's right. We talk about different things. So sometimes not anything to do with what we're reading, but we'll see everybody next week.
It's a good book. It's a good book.
Yep. So grab your copy and join us. Have a great week, everybody. Okay.